Welcome back to the kickoff, and Arsenal are out of the title race, or at least that's the way it looked. A couple of weeks ago, I had a chat with Jacob on the channel. He said we need 6 points from Newcastle and Chelsea. They didn't manage it, and now they're 9 points behind Liverpool, 4 points behind City, and failing to capitalise on a Manchester City defeat. Are you out the title race now, Jacob? How does it feel?
Well, look, I mean, if Liverpool don't win it from here, what a bottling that'll be, right? What a bottling that'll be if Liverpool
He's piling on.
with the best forward in the league, the best centre-back, the best full-back in the league. Surely Liverpool's title's thrown. No, look, I'm being a dick. If anyone were to say to me today, that's Arsenal done out of the title race, I don't think I'd be able to argue with them with a straight face, to be perfectly honest with you. The only, if it was Liverpool in that position that City are in right now, if it was City in that position Liverpool are in right now, if it was City who had that big gap on us, I'd say, yep, it's over.
Yeah.
I don't want to disrespect Liverpool because they've been unreal so far. I've still got a tiny bit of hope. I'll be honest. There is a tiny bit of hope, and that hope comes from the fact that over the last few weeks, I've been saying about Arsenal, about my team, I've been going, it's not enough to just hope that Ødegaard's going to come back and we see our football again. And yet, when Ødegaard gets that ball, corner of the box, and just flicks it over to Martinelli, and I see a bit of football that I haven't seen in weeks, I'm sorry, but if that guy's on the pitch, we can go on a run. We can go on a run. We can beat teams. And if you look at our fixtures over the next 7, 8, 9 weeks, we have got some winnable games. So I think we can rack up points. I think we can get ourselves in with a very good shout.
This is Kevin Keegan, Esther. We're still fighting for this title. I love it. I thought you'd be with absolutely fucked it. And I guess Man City are the reason why, and we're going to do another video on them, because they're certainly not full throttle. Chelsea boys, actually, no, I want to ask you one more question on this Liverpool situation. You mentioned Arne Slot's Liverpool. Obviously, they're a bit of an unknown quantity, and that the squad aren't an unknown quantity, but he is. But he's certainly making a good fucking first impression. And when you look at the Arteta project and everything Arteta's been going through, would it be slightly humiliating, lads, if Arne Slot does this in his first season? And Arteta sat there.
It'd be more humiliating on Klopp than it would Arteta, to be fair. I'll jump to Jacob's rescue there a little bit. But what I would say is when you're talking there about, you'd be more worried in the fact of Man City. If it was Man City at the top of the league, I'm guessing you're judging that on the data that we've acquired over the years. And ultimately, we don't have any data on how Arne Slot deals when the going gets tough, when, the fixtures are compiled and congested already. But what I'm saying is that running period, we don't know how he deals with that. We know how Klopp deals with that. But then the data that we also have is that, okay, you can say, yeah, but without Rodri. But what we have is, come the turn of the year, Man City get really good as well. So although Man City are dropping points at the minute, I think that in a 3-horse race, Liverpool are the unknown quantity and they're top of the league. And I'm honestly not sticking the knife in. I think the points tally will show this. In a 3-horse race, you know more about Man City. You know more about the way Pep's able to navigate those 14, 16 game winning streaks and stuff like that. So I think that it's brilliant for you that it's not Man City sat there, and it's brilliant for you that they've lost back-to-back matches, but it's still Man City you want to be worried about as well as Liverpool.
Oh, of course. And City are still ahead of us. City are still ahead of us. And the only thing I can say with Arsenal, I don't think anyone can argue that we've had the hardest fixtures so far. We've had red cards. We've had an injury to our captain, and he's coming back. It's not like City's situation where Rodri's out and that's it. And barring a big bid for Zubimendi or someone similar in January, they're going to be doing Kovacic till May. We've got Ødegaard back now. And so I just look at the fixtures we've got coming up, the fixtures that other people have got to face. Have you seen City's next fixtures? Have you seen what City have got to do?
Don't. That's horrific, City's fixtures. I've just seen them.
Mate, fortunately they got Spurs in there, and that's a nice easy one, because otherwise it's looking tough.
City ain't great against Spurs. City ain't great against Spurs. Spurs are one of the ones that
I want to know, Josh. Josh, you're practical, right? What are you saying? Are Arsenal out of the title race for you?
I don't know how you're so confident, Jacob. I really don't. I was chatting to a very good friend who's a Liverpool fan now, and I was just saying to him, the text message I just said is it's done. I think today it's over. I think the title race is complete in November. And I think we literally do just have a procession now until the end. I think when you look at it now, how many points are they ahead? It's just a ridiculous amount of points. They're 9 points ahead of Arsenal already, which is just insane. Obviously, Man City, there's still a question, but without Rodri, I don't know how they could be. And I have to say, the comments, they do say that we don't necessarily favour Liverpool. And I want to give a little quick moment to just say Liverpool are exceptional. They are walking the league. They have played some relatively good teams. And I think they've come through every single game looking like they are deserving title winners, to be fair. Like, you look at the Forest game, that's the only one that they've obviously slipped up in majorly so far.
Whoa, hang on.
I don't see how this is a debate.
They walked away from the Emirates with 1 point against the Carabao Cup defence. Why didn't they beat us?
Mate,
if they look like a title-winning team, why didn't they beat us?
Mate, at the end of the day, look how many points you've dropped in comparison to them. You've had injuries, right? But there's only so many excuses you can keep hearing. You're either in a title race or you're not. You just said you're in a title race. I don't think you are.
Okay, Josh.
If you're in a title race, then we're in a title race, and we're definitely not in a title race.
We are in a title race.
Josh,
that's why I'm not ruling them out.
Fuck me, mate.
Josh, do you know who was top of the league this time last year? Do you know who was number one top of the league this time last year? Thank you, Joey. Tottenham Hotspur. And how did they get on?
Mate, you can't. Are you, as an Arsenal fan right now, using Spurs as an example of a team that's successful? Is that what we're doing right now?
I'm using Spurs as an example of how it's the first week of November and there's an awful lot of football to be played.
Mate,
and
your Aussie accent, Jacob, has properly changed. Bloody hell, mate. Top of the league in November.
Let me jump in. Let me jump in, all right? So we do have to talk a bit about Chelsea, because obviously, back-to-back games against the Big Six, Chelsea have struggled to create in both of those games a little bit, and they have lost a bit of ground where the top four felt very solidified for Chelsea, and it looked like this is where they were going to stay. And now, they're 1 point ahead of ninth now after 2 games, right? I know it looks nice in the position, but reality is 1 point ahead of ninth place, and Chelsea have lost a little bit of ground. It's not that Chelsea have played terribly in either of those games, but it's not the ideal scenario. I can imagine, you're not devastated, but where are your heads at, lads?
Well, I'm looking at the 6 now, and obviously, lost to Liverpool, lost to Man City, played well in both those matches. We've drawn today against Arsenal. We drew against Nottingham Forest, who are in the 6. We beat Brighton, who are 6th. So what are we talking about?
No, I meant as in the Big Six, the traditional Big Six. But regardless of that,
I live
you're
in the
1 point ahead of ninth
I live
place.
in the present.
You've lost a lot of ground that you'd made up.
I live in the present. That is the Big Six as of right now.
I love it.
No, I'm not but I went into the season with relatively high expectations on the last 2 seasons, but obviously low expectations on my life as a Chelsea fan, my conscious life as a Chelsea fan and whatnot. And if you had have said to me, right, going in to the last international break of 2024, you're going to be sat 3rd in the league. You are going to be on the same points as Arsenal. You're going to have scored more or less the same amount of goals as Man City. You're going to have conceded the same amount of goals as Man City. I understand there's context to it because we're now talking about Arsenal and City, obviously dropping off a little bit. But my God, we were miles off from last season. So I feel like until it sort of started to click towards the end of last season, I'd admit that a lot of the time Cole Palmer was pulling us out of it and whatnot. And I think that, there's actually more players who consistently, week in, week out now, we're developing a spine and we've got a core to our team. We've got players that we can rely on. Do they turn up in every single game? No, they don't. But Aston Villa just got a top 4 finish last season, and Ollie Watkins didn't turn up in every single game. Douglas Luiz didn't turn up in every single game. You need them to turn up more often than not. And what I'm reading and what I'm watching on the eye at the moment...
I get the feeling, Joey, you're alluding to what I mentioned last time that we spoke about Cole Palmer and how against 3 Big Six teams so far at that point in the season, he hadn't scored and he hadn't won those games. Now make that 4. After a day. Are you making a case for Cole Palmer in advance of us mentioning him? Is that what this is about?
Do you know what? Right. I went to Saudi Arabia.
Did he flop today, lads?
I went to Saudi Arabia recently with you, and you were very ill, and I could not commend your performance on that stream coming through illness. And you of all people should know how hard it is. Cole Palmer has had a real bad knock from a real bad challenge. He couldn't train all week, and to be on the pitch today was remarkable in itself. To do the 90 minutes. Listen, we had Pedro Neto turn up. So,
well, can I speak on Chelsea quickly? Can I just say something about Chelsea quickly?
So what's Saka's excuse then?
I just want to say, that's the excuse.
I just want to say, my team came up against Chelsea today, and let me just say this: I've watched bits and bobs of Chelsea this year. I watched more of Chelsea last year when we were sat together watching Pochettino's Chelsea. I will say now, that is the best coached Chelsea team I've seen since Conte.
What size shirt are you, Jacob? That. What size shirt are you on? I'm going to order you in the kit right now. It's not too late. It's never too late.
I mean it. That is the best coached Chelsea team I've seen. And I spotted it first day of the season when you played City. And it was there today. The way they press, the way they build from the back, every phase of the game, they are well coached. They run together and they work as a team. And for all the good under Pochettino, and let's be honest, at the end of last season, when you sat Pochettino, all of us were sat there going, is that the right thing? Surely he's just come good. Why they got rid of him? He never had them looking like a unit the way Enzo's got them looking like a unit now. Forget the money spent, forget the talent. And I agree with you, Joe. I think Pedro Neto was the best forward on the pitch today. They are so well coached as a team.
Can we do a flip side of this? Can you, Josh, for example, can you give me a bit of feedback on Arsenal and what you thought about them? Because obviously they're in a bit of a rough moment right now. What did you make of them?
I think, to be fair, right, we were talking about fixtures earlier on. The first thing I say is I think Arsenal got a pretty good run coming up. And I do think they'll be one of the teams that rise up the table as opposed to, as opposed to falling. Because let's be honest, it's really congested. What I will say about them is that back 4, I do think it's one of the best in the Premier League, if not the best. And I think the solidity that they're going to have building from the back there is going to be exceptional. And ultimately that does propel you up and gets you in title races. So I think that's really good. The one thing that I noticed more than anything today, beyond, the impact that Odegaard obviously has in their team, and quite frankly, him being back could be a complete game changer. The one thing that I noticed is that the dark art stuff, I always hear that from other fans when they play Arsenal. And I always thought maybe it's a bit harsh and a bit disingenuous and they don't do that, but they are masters of that. I remember watching Arsenal teams when they used to be free flowing. They used to, pass, tiki taka, wonderful goals, right from the back. Now what they do is they do the dirty stuff as well as that beautiful football. And I have to say that was a really start-stop game, not just because of the referee, but because of the way that Arsenal were running the game. But ultimately, you need to have that edge to be right up there. So for me, I noticed that has been a big difference. And I have to say, I think now they have got players back, as much as we've sort of laughed about, Arsenal were in 4th place. I can understand why Jacob is sort of like excited, still think they have a chance. But for me, I just think the points are too much at this stage.
Can I touch on one thing? Apparently Arteta in his post-match interview said we dominated them.
Yeah. I don't see that. Jacob, what do you think? Do you think they've dominated?
Yeah, but when managers are struggling though, when managers are struggling and they're feeling the pressure, they come out with crazy shit, right? And to be honest with you, as a neutral, I was really disappointed in this game and up until about the hour mark because there was about one shot on target from each side. And I just thought, again, much like the Man United versus Chelsea game, but more so, the standard of football, it was really just broken down. And as Josh has just said, it wasn't free-flowing football. And look, you're not expecting it to constantly be that way. But at this level, and I really do respect both of these sides, like, and there was points in the game where just for a moment you see them just whipping passes together from distance that were just ridiculous. But it would just break down. And I was disappointed. And I think both of these sides, they have the potential to be on their day the best side in the world. Even Chelsea, like Joey said, best counter-attacking side in the world football at times. But when they're not there, they both really struggle to connect going forward in the final third. And look, it did take a sort of bit of brilliance from Neto. Arsenal completely switched off from that run from Neto. That was a disgrace that they just let him walk in behind it between the lines and whack it in the bottom corner. By the way, Neto should be playing on the right from that one. What the fuck is he doing? Madueke, after that hat-trick Madueke had, I've been watching him week in, week out. He's looked fucking shite for many weeks in a row now. And I don't know where his decision-making is, but it ain't where it should be.
He is available in January, Brian. If you do want to put in a £50 million bid, he is available for transfer. I know you are looking for that right winger.
Fuck that, mate. We've got enough. Yeah. And you know what? He has got talent, but his decision making, it leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. But look, tell me, lads, just before we move on. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, you mentioned standard there, and I think that's the word. It's not, these two teams were going at each other. It's not that they were conservative. Every time each team got the ball, they fucking went, they pushed, they wanted to go. The word is standard. Joey mentioned earlier that Cole Palmer was carrying a knock. We saw Lavia go off, right? For Arsenal, I know that Declan Rice was wearing a padded boot today because he has a broken toe. We had to drag Yuri and Timber into that game. Saka goes off. Havertz hasn't been fit. He had his head stitched together and the cut opens, right? At some point, and this isn't the first Super Sunday where we've all texted each other going, God, that was shit. And it's not just about teams not having a go. It's the standards just dropping. And it's like, there is so much fucking football now. There are so many more Champions League games. I'll tell you something about the Champions League games, right? There's more of them now. I know this as someone who goes to games. I don't know if this is the same with Chelsea. I mean, I assume it is because you're in the fucking Conference League. We can't fill our stadium for Champions League games. I promise you now, go on the Arsenal website for the next midweek Champions League game. You can buy tickets on the fucking day.
Do you want the truth?
Broken the game.
We fill our stadium, but you know when we go down for beers at half time, some of us, and I'm not going to name any names, don't go back up for the second half. We just stay in the bar drinking. Well,
my point being, there's too much football. There's too many fucking international games that none of us watch. There's Champions League games that people don't even want to fucking buy a ticket to. And what happens is the players, and Rodri was talking about this just before his ACL went, other players have mentioned it as well. The players are fucked. We pay proper money to go to football matches to watch the best players in the world play for our clubs, and they can't play to their full potential because they're half-cropped. They might be on the pitch, but they're not fit. And football, this is how football's going to end up, by the way. We're going to get more of it, but it's going to be lower quality.
You know what? It takes an ownership maybe that are like one step ahead to almost buy like two starting 11s. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to say like that.
Says the cunt who's got fucking Nkunku coming on for the chunk minutes every week. Fuck me. 50 odd million. I was wondering, lads, you know, we were talking, you know, obviously there was the Chelsea goalkeeper mistake for the goal. Arsenal not tracking the runs. In a game where it wasn't like there was major standout performances, in my opinion. There was just flashes of brilliance in and amongst a very hard fought fight. But was there any players that you were particularly pissed off with from your side that you were just like, that ain't good enough for me?
May I upset some Arsenal fans?
Go for it.
He had a broken toe today, so this isn't fair at all. We looked a better team when Declan Rice went off the pitch. And I've not been happy with Mikel Merino, that fucking stiff idiot. He looks a better fit for that left 8 position than Declan Rice does.
How much did it cost, Jacob? God. Just remind us. How much was the transfer fee?
It was 28 million for Mikel Merino, Josh. 28 million pounds, thanks. But what I was saying was,
what about Declan Rice?
Split the difference. It's fine.
Caicedo looked amazing.
He did. To be
just
fair.
Saying.
I know. I have a fear with Declan Rice, which is we bought him without knowing what to do with him because we have a very defined 3 in midfield, 1-6-2-8. And I don't know if he's either, because he's always been a double pivot guy who drifts to the left. And that is starting to look, every single game I've got an issue with our midfield. And I love the guy. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I don't know what he is for Arsenal, and I don't think Mikel does.
I find it hard to think of any players I would say I was disappointed with today. Like, from a Chelsea standpoint,
Sanchez for me, mate.
Yeah,
to be honest with you,
Sanchez
made a good save. Made a good save against Mikel Merino.
He saved the nearly own goal from Caicedo, and I think that saved us a point in the game. And it's like, you know, Sanchez making a howler in a game is like my missus cooking a rubbish dinner. She's not a great cook. Do you know what I mean? I don't expect it anymore. I'm just like, well, I either get rid of her or I just accept the food's not great.
Joey, surely your missus has got other redeeming qualities, right? I've heard lovely things about her.
The good job is, shock horror, my missus doesn't watch the
put up with him for a start.
Right, we can slag her off all we want.
But what's Sanchez's redeeming qualities?
I think he's a good shot stopper. But I don't think, I would agree with you. To get where we want to get to, he missed
the near post. It was bad today.
I've got to be honest, Martinelli, before he put the goal away, I was pissed off about him about other chances that he'd missed. If I'm really honest with you all, I think we need a big January signing at Arsenal. I think if we are going to make an assault on what could be Liverpool's title, I think we need to spend big money in Jan. And the interesting thing about Martinelli is anyone who's unsure about where he is in his career and where he is in terms of his time at Arsenal, watch Arteta when Martinelli has the ball. Arteta, he's going mental. The only person Arteta's more frustrated with is Trossard. And I'll tell you what, Trossard's been a fantastic signing for us. But I don't know if you saw what Arteta did at the end of the game where Saliba gets the ball on the left-hand side of the box, runs it across the 6-yard box. Kai Havertz is waiting to just tuck it into the back. And instead, Trossard takes the shot, fucking misses it. Arteta ends up on his arse. He's so pissed off, he ends up on the floor. I've got a funny feeling with Trossard, if I'm honest with you. There was a weird thing with Trossard where, I don't know if you remember when he scored against Aston Villa earlier in the season for us, and he did that weird little celebration, that weird like, oh yeah, you're not starting me, but what about this then? And I'll tell you what, he started most games since then, and he's been fucking pony poo. We got a weird little bid from Saudi Arabia for him just after the window closed, and if you remember how he came to Arsenal, it's because he was being an arsey little fucker at Brighton. And I've got a funny feeling he might be an arsey little fucker in our dressing room as well. And I've got a funny feeling he might go in January and we might spend big in that position, left wing. Because if you think about Arsenal's starting 11, I saw Jamie Carragher saying this on the overlap at the end of last season. If you look at our front three, Havertz, Saka, Martinelli, tell me, is that good enough to win the Premier League?
No.
With Sterling as backup,
No chance.
Now, if I told you that we were to go big on, I don't know, say a Rafael Leao from AC Milan, and you were to say Leao have a Saka front three,
big
or
wages.
someone of that ilk, someone of that level,
someone better than Leao. Leao's overrated.
Maybe better than Leao. I don't know. I off the top of my head, Joe, but you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I think it's that left wing spot that you upgrade, personally.
Do you know what's funny about that Leao guy? I mean, you mentioned him. Newcastle played against Mbappe. We kept him radio silent for 2 fucking games back to back. He scored a bullshit penalty. He shouldn't have been there. Leao, on the other hand, gave us fucking nightmares. So, I've only got that game to base him off in terms of against us personally. Otherwise, watching him in Serie A is one thing. But he did look a fucking player, like, so if that was to happen, it would definitely enhance your chances. Josh, I agree with what Jacob said earlier about how well tactically you're set up and how well coached you are. And you've become a lot harder to beat. To make it to the next level, you are going to have to beat those big 6 sides. Yep. And the fact that you haven't won one game against 4 of them so far this season, is that bothering you? Or are you just much like Joey in that you're seeing the positives and not really too fussed about it?
Do you know what? The answer to that question is based on if we can continue to beat the teams that are below us, because if we can continue to do that, we'll be in and around those positions that we want to be in, the Champions League places. We will need to get some results against these big teams. We will have to do it. I mean, we've got Spurs coming up. We will have to beat them, traditional big 6 teams. They're definitely not up there anymore. So I think we need to get results there. And to be honest with you, as I was walking out of the ground, I was saying to my old man, I was just saying, Enzo needs a big win here. He needs a win against a top team to really cement himself as being the man to take Chelsea forward and to deserve a 5-year contract. And what I think at the moment is a little bit like the way I described Newcastle early in the season, which I think is actually disingenuous now when you look at the way that you're performing, is we've kind of stumbled our way into third. And this is the big learning for me is we're there. We're obviously chuffed to be in third. We've had years of turbulence. We haven't been anywhere near good enough. But now we're on the cusp of something. We just need to sort of put the ball in the back of the net and actually go forwards. And so there's still a lot of question marks about this team. And really, Chelsea fans, we can't really judge it. But the thing is we're judging it against all of the negativity that's happened. So obviously we're going to be positive. And that's where I'm at as well. I'm really positive with it. I love the manager. I think the squad is coming along. The transition is now midway through. And I do think, there's, we're on the up and that's all that we can really ask for, really.
Also, not to say that I don't want to be getting wins against the big teams, because of course I do. But last season, barring Spurs twice, we didn't beat any of the traditional big six, did we, in the league? And we were losing to the likes of West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth was a 0-0 draw. I'm thinking of teams that Enzo Maresca has now faced in the first stage, that Pochettino faced in the first stage, and Enzo Maresca's getting better results against them lot. And it was like the one thing that I said time in, time out, we'd be all sat around the kickoff table, and so many times I said, the thing that gives me hope is the same thing that gives me worry with Chelsea last season. And that was the thing that gives me hope is a shit performance doesn't necessarily guarantee that a shit performance is going to follow. And the thing that was giving me negativity was the fact that we could have a good performance and we could look brilliant. Say, for example, right, we conceded 4 goals in this match I'm about to name, so it doesn't really do it justice. But the 4-4 draw with Man City, like we came back to draw with Man City 4-4. That was brilliant. Then we went to St James's Park and got pumped 4-1 the next game. Coming off the back of today's result, coming off the back of like the Liverpool result, the Man City result, I don't think you were looking at that Chelsea thinking, oh, you're a box of frogs, I don't know what I'm going to get of you. I think you were looking at them thinking, yeah, you're half decent, you should get better next time out. And that's how I feel. I feel like I've got more predictability and stability about this side. So I feel a bit calmer. I feel I'm not as up and down as I was last.
I agree. Yeah. The craziness and unpredictability of Chelsea is gone. And now, even if Palmer and Jackson don't have a great game, we actually see a solid performance where they're not just going to like leak a whole bunch of goals and go to shit, and they don't need to score 5 goals to win a match. So I do give credit to Maresca. And, the beauty of this whole situation for me is that Newcastle are now only 1 point behind Arsenal and Chelsea, despite me earlier this season going, the season's over. Fuck it. Somehow we're back in it. We're going to wrap this one up here. Don't forget to stay subscribed to The Kickoff. We'll see you on the next one.